Hello students, we are going to take up one of the best written poems by Robert Frost, A Roadside Stand. This poem has been included in the CBSE curriculum from the current year, hence the PPT. Okay, let's start with the poet. Robert Lee Frost was an American poet. So with this poem, you also get to taste American literature. His work was initially published in England before it was published in the United States. You must read about Frost because his life history is extremely interesting. Anyway, he has been a highly acclaimed American poet of the 20th century. He wrote about characters, people, and landscapes. Stopping by woods on a snowy evening, birches, mending walls are some of his well-known poems. So this poem, A Roadside Stand, is a scathing attack on the inconsistent society. In the poem, Frost presents the lives of poor and deprived people, and the clarity with which he presents it is exceptional. In fact, you can feel that Robert Frost empathizes with the people who actually are the roadside stand dwellers. The poem is a plea for consideration for the simple people of the countryside or the rural areas who have shown no signs of progress. He expresses his pain at their sadness and sorrow and seeks support and relief for them. He hopes someone would work unselfishly, and here someone, we do understand that he is making a reference towards the political leaders. The poem also illustrates the unfortunate fact that growth and prosperity are unevenly distributed between cities and villages. Now let's look at the theme of the poem. The poem deals with the struggling and vulnerable lives of countryside people and how the city dwellers don't even pay any heed to their conditions. The people living in cities, they don't think about the problems these people, the roadside stand dwellers, face. The poet shows a sympathetic attitude towards these impoverished masses. Let us look at stanza-wise explanation of the roadside stand. The little old house was out with a little new shed. Do not miss the repetition of the word little, which clearly shows how insignificant the little roadside stand is. So, as you can see, it's given over here. A farmer has put up the roadside stand outside his house, hoping that the passing cars would stop and buy his products. Look at the word in the second line, traffic sped. So the traffic is moving at a high speed, not at all bothered even to pass a glance at this roadside stand. The phrase pathetically pled is an example of personification because you can see as if someone is pleading pathetically, and it is also an example of alliteration. It would not be fair to say for a dole of bread. Dole, as we all know, is a reference to an unemployment allowance which is given in America. So here, the rural people ask for money that is not actually coming to them but is being given only to the city dwellers, and which is the main reason for the development of the cities. Their plea is to instead support the development of the countryside also. That's why the line, but for some of the money, the cash whose flow supports the flower of cities from sinking and withering faint. So flower of cities is an example of metaphor, and it has been the comparison is that all the prosperity that comes in the cities, it's like a flower, and it is on account of this extra surplus of money that the city people get. And the main concern of the rural people is that they are not getting a fair share of this development and prosperity. The next few lines, the polished traffic. Polished traffic, children, is an example of transferred epithet. So here the reference is not to polished traffic, but the poet is actually talking about polished cars that pass with a mind ahead. So unfortunately, no passerby stops their car, and they are not interested in buying the goodies that are being sold by these roadside stand dwellers. Instead, they lament how the scenery is ruined by these roadside stands and see the old battered signs. So look at this line of signs with N turned wrong and S turned wrong clearly shows that they are making fun of whatever is being put up by the roadside stand dwellers, their names, the signs, and everything. Offered for sale wild berries in wooden quarts or crook-necked golden squash with silver warts. Now, here, beautiful use of imagery, golden, silver. But at the same point of time, you can see that the city people, they criticize without remorse. They do not think about the people who cannot afford to, present their products in the manner uh, which could appeal these people. So the people who are passing by, if perchance they stop by to look at the products, they make fun of it and they don't buy it. You have the money, but if you want to be mean, why keep your money this crossly and go along? So here, the farmer tells the rich to keep their money, and if they mean to be cruel and without sympathy, then they must just move along. This crossly is the interjection which shows that the responses of the rich lack any sort of empathy. The hurt to the scenery wouldn't be my complaint so much as the trusting sorrow of what is unsaid. So here, the farmer or the poor people, they are saying that he is not hurt that his products are not being noticed, but he is hurt at the way he is being treated. Trusting sorrow shows that he has imposed a lot of trust in these people, but in return, he has got nothing but sorrow. Here, far from the city, we make our roadside stand and ask for some city money to feel in hand, to try if it will not make our being expand and give us the life of the moving pictures promise that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. So the farmers are saying that we have made our roadside stand somewhere away from the city, and this roadside stand has been made with the purpose of getting some extra money. This extra money is going to help them in getting a better life. Like it says over here, he wishes for some extra money, some city life, which he has seen in movies and other media. But the political parties are denying him all these plush life. It is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in, to live in villages next to the theatre and the store, where they won't have to think for themselves anymore. Now, the poet says that the poor people will be relocated to such places where they can experience the life of the cinema. These people are, you know, going to be put together, and this line, if you look at it, where they won't have to think for themselves. So these people will be given so many benefits that they will have no time to think for themselves. Look at this line. While greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, swarm over their lives, enforcing benefits. Greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, examples of alliteration as well as oxymoron. Swarm over their lives, enforcing benefits is an example of metaphor. So, the village people will be robbed of their ability to think by the greedy good doers and beneficent beasts of prey who would enforce benefits, which means that they will give them so many advantages and benefits that these people will stop thinking for themselves. Now, this particular line, that are calculated to soothe them out of their wits, and by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroying their sleeping at night the ancient way. So what is the ancient way, children? The ancient way is that one works hard during the course of the day and then he gets a sound sleep. But these villagers are going to be given so much that they will forget to think about themselves. Here, as it says, that the process has been changed by the greedy good doers who manipulate them and ask them not to use their own ideas. They are now troubled and unable to sleep at night because they haven't worked through the day. So that is why destroy their sleeping at night the ancient way is again a very important line, because here it clearly shows that how these people will become complacent, they will not think for themselves, they will not work hard. As a result, they will not get sound sleep. Sometimes I feel myself I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain, the sadness that lurks near the open window where that waits all day in almost open prayer for the squeal of brakes. Clearly you can see how these people are waiting forever that some car would stop by and look at their products, buy their products, but it's like a childish longing in vain. It is of no use. Frost talks about his own personal feelings. He is unable to endure the pain he feels towards the farmer's battered hopes. The windows of the farmer's house just ache to hear the sound of a car stopping to make some purchase. And here the sadness that lurks near the window is an example of personification. However, they are always disappointed as the cars stop for self-serving reasons. Now, of all the thousand selfish cars that pass, selfish cars again is an example of transferred epithet. The cars are not selfish, people are. Just want to inquire what a farmer's prices are, and one did stop, but only to plow up grass. So they do stop, but just to make a U-turn, or even, they are so callous, they don't even know what they are selling. They stop by to ask if they are selling a gallon of gas. So you have to understand that Frost is trying to make a dig at the city people that they are not even aware about the presence of the rural people or what they are trying to sell. Uh, Next few lines, Frost talks about that the countryside in reality never earned the profits that they needed or deserved. No, in the country money, the country scale of gain, the requisite lift of spirit has never been found. The poet wonders whether it would be better to take all these people out of their tangible misery and give them eternal relief. In essence, he wonders whether mercy killing was ethical in this situation. So the line, to put these people at one stroke out of their pain, clearly shows that the only solution froze things for a moment for these people is to just wipe them away from the face of earth. But the next line says, and then next day as I come back into the Seine, I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. After some proper thought, he puts himself in the same situation. He asks a profound question of himself whether he would appreciate being taken out of this world by someone else. The tone, however, portrays a feeling of pity and the knowledge that such an offer would not be appreciated, as life is more valuable than a release from suffering to him. So very soon when he realizes the kind of solution that he is providing, he realizes his folly, that this cannot be a solution. Now let us quickly look at the poetic devices once again. Polished traffic, selfish cars, examples of transferred epithet. I've already explained. Frost refers to polished cars and selfish people. So next one is personification, a roadside stand that too pathetically pled, sadness that lurks near the window, the voice of the country. I forgot to mention this one. So the voice of the country is an example of personification. Next, greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, examples of oxymoron, because they are opposites being put together. Where there is goodness, there cannot be greed, and benevolence cannot go with beasts. It's also an example of alliteration. Greedy, good doers, the sound of gur gur, and beneficent beasts of prey. Alliteration, pathetically pled, is also an example of alliteration and gallon of gas. Next is repetition. Words like wrong, money, city, sleep, country, these have been repeated in the lines by the poet and hence an example of repetition. Now the next poetic device, as you can see over here, is anaphora. Uh, it is the repetition of a word at the start of two or more consecutive lines. So, or crook-necked golden squash with silver warts. And the next line is, or beauty rest in a beautiful mountain scene, is an example of anaphora. Metaphor, flower of cities and swarm over their lives. These are two examples of metaphor. There's yet another poetic device, children, that has been used, and it is called assonance. It is the prominent sound of a particular vowel or syllable being repeated. So here, as you can see, the prominent sound of the vowel O is heard in the line, but for some of the money, the cash, whose flow supports. Another example of assonance is prominent sound of the vowel I, E, the flower of cities from sinking and withering faint. So these are the literary devices, poetic devices that have been used in the roadside stand. Let's solve some questions as per the latest CBSE format. What is the poet's complaint in the poem? Now, as you can see, the poet does not complain like passers-by that the landscape has been marred. He is complaining about the lack of opportunity and encouragement to these people in the countryside. He is upset about the sorrow of those who had set up the roadside stall in the hope that people would stop by and they would get some extra money. The next one is an important question. What is the trusting sorrow? What remains unsaid? So the country folk trust their rich brethren in the city to come to their help, but they feel sad when their trust is breached by the city people and mainly by the political leaders through their indifference. Although the city people have said nothing, but their silence speaks volumes about their cold and indifferent attitude towards the rural people and who feel hurt by this silence. Explain, soothe them out of their wits. This is also very important. The powerful men reach out to the country folk with false promises of providing them with a better life. These innocent people repose blind faith in their false claims and feel soothed and satisfied. They fail to see through their selfishness. So the faith that they have in the political leaders is something which they feel betrayed about. What is the childish longing of the folk who had put up the roadside stand? Why is it in vain? The childish longing the poet refers to is the dreams and desires of the rural folk who have a childlike longing for a better life. They are waiting for a car to stop. Their longing is in vain because the city folk are not willing to help them, and so their childish longings are not likely to be fulfilled. So they are in vain. Yes, children. Now, this is an example from the sample question paper that has been shared by CBSE. It's based a reference to context question based on the lines. It is in the news that all these pitiful kin. So what is the tone of the poet in the above lines? Now look at this question. It is a complex MCQ. Look at the options very carefully. Is it aggressive, tolerant, sarcastic, resigned, sentimental? So here, as you can see, the tone of the poet in these lines is what? Option D, sarcastic. He is being sarcastic. Which quality of the villagers can be inferred through these lines? Is it hypocritical? Is it ambitious? Is it futuristic? No, it is gullible. Identify the phrase from the extract that suggests the following. No one bothers to take their consent before pushing the promise of a better life their way. So the example, the apt example here would be enforcing benefits. So benefits are being enforced. They are not bothered to look at their consent. Complete the following analogy correctly. Do not repeat from used example. So greedy good doers is an example of alliteration. Oxymoron, greedy good doers is also an example, so you can't repeat that. Hence, you will write beneficent beasts of prey. The next question says, on the basis of the extract, choose the correct option with reference to 1 and 2 given below. The city dwellers make promises for the betterment of the villagers. The city dwellers have ulterior motives. So look at the options very clearly. The answer here is C. 2 is the reason for 1. Fill in the blanks with an appropriate word. Calculated to soothe them out of their wits implies that them are being. Use only one word, children, not a phrase. So you can say them are being fooled, they are being duped. So only one word. Okay, be very careful about that. The government and other social service agencies appear to help the poor rural people but actually do them no good. Pick out the words and phrases that the poet uses to show their double standards. Now here you have to be very careful. The government, you have to choose the correct phrases. The government and other social service agencies which appear to help the poor people actually do them no good. We are just repeating the words from the question. The following words and phrases used by the poet show their double standard. Greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, swarm over their lives, enforcing benefits. So these are the phrases that have been used which show the double standards of the government. So that's all for the roadside stand. Good luck. If you like the video, please share it with your friends, and all the best for your board exams. Before that, pre-boards too. God bless.